Sorry about the delay, everybody. The Hawthorne Board of Education meeting is called to order. The New Jersey Open Public Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of the public bodies at which business affecting their interests is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with this provision of the Act, the Business Administrative Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and in place, therefore posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, communicated with the Hawthorne Press, and filed with the clerk of the Borough of Hawthorne. Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Here.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Ms. Goff?
Here.
Mr. Palouse?
Here.
Mr. Reicher?
Here.
Ms. Sanford?
Here.
Mr. Traglia?
Here.
Mr. Turco?
Here.
Mr. Scarra?
Here. Please join me for the flag salute. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity, early on in the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for approval on this agenda only. The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that's pertinent to and directly related to the operation of the school district. Persons wishing to speak must be upon being recognized, rise, sign in, state their name, address, and subject matter. Comments and questions shall be addressed to the board president or presiding officer and shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. The board may or may not respond to issues raised by members of the public at the time they are raised, but will provide a response if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of the other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not be responsible to comments regarding students or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discusses comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during this public session should be careful to consider their comments, since they can be held personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note, in accordance with the district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that this matter has been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in the attempt to resolve the issue. Public be heard, agenda items only. Seeing no one, moving on with the agenda, I will entertain a motion for approval of minutes for November 12th work session and November 20th regular meeting.
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Abstain from the second as I was absent. Yes to the 20th.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Traglia?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Abstain from the public portion on the 20th. Yes on everything.
Mr. Scarra?
Yes. As far as correspondence, we do have a few correspondence. We got a thank you letter from Megan Vitale for the Board of Ed marching in the Santa Parade. We also have some season greetings acknowledgments from the Passaic County Ed Services and our attorneys Fogarty and Howard. Presentations. First we have from our auditor, Clooney, Sloopy, Clooney and Company, Bill Swisher.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank Rick and Trudy and their staff for all their help. We asked for a lot of questions, we asked for a lot of documentation, and they're always very courteous, so we do appreciate that. Usually when I'm here to discuss the comprehensive annual financial report and the auditor's manager report, you guys would have copies of those in your hands. Unfortunately, this year, there's a new accounting standard that came out called GASB 75, and that standard requires us to report on the costs that the district incurs for the retirees' health benefit costs. The state of New Jersey was supposed to go out and do an actuarial study. They were supposed to hire a auditing firm to audit those numbers, and unfortunately, they dropped the ball. We were supposed to be given these numbers back in August. It's now almost Christmas, and we don't have the numbers still. and we have no time frame as to when we're going to get the numbers. The state has given us no guidance. Basically, they came out with something that went out to the auditors and the PAs, that your audit will now be due 4 weeks after those numbers come out. Still haven't told us when the numbers are coming out. The good news is those numbers really don't have any bearing on your financial picture. And your financial picture is, once again, solid. The district started the year out with $3,895,186 in surplus, and ended the year with $4,372,134 in surplus. So once again, you're in a strong position. Obviously, you guys still have the management report also. I'm happy to report when you guys eventually do get that management report, there will be no findings and no recommendations in the report, so it will be a clean management report and a clean audit report. But like I said, I can't tell you when the report's going to be out because they're not telling us. Any questions on that, or? Like I
Anybody
said,
have any questions for Bill?
eventually, like I said, we're going to get those numbers, we'll put it into the audit report. They don't affect you guys at all because the state pays those costs for you, so it's an on-behalf payment. It goes on as a revenue, as an expense, it's a wash, but we have to wait for those numbers to actually go in the report.
That may not be until late January, right?
Some people said January, some we've already heard February.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
Good night.
Thanks, Bill. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Next up, we have a board member presentation. This board member served on the board for 15 years and has decided to retire as a board member and put his focus in the areas of his personal life and his family. He's been on the board as president, vice president. He's chaired various committees and been a board trustee. I personally believe that the most important role he has been as a mentor. And although at first, when I first joined the board, we batted heads a little bit and didn't always see eye to eye, I have the honor today of calling you my friend. And I want to thank you for your contribution. So with that being said, I have a plaque for Victor, and it says, in grateful appreciation, the school district of Hawthorne, New Jersey presents this certificate to Victor Taragula for the services as a member of the Board of Education, for contributions as president, vice president, chairperson, and trustee, as well as your valued participation in establishing effective board policies and your desire for seeking educational excellence, having contributed immeasurable to the progress of our school district. On behalf of your colleagues, our teachers, and students, we thank you for your dedicated service and wish you good health and happiness in the years to come.
Big smile.
And Victor, that's always going to be archived because now it's on video too.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you, but I did write a speech.
Okay.
Because, me, you give me a microphone, I'm in trouble with the rest of the people. So anyhow, I started this journey in 2003. And basically, I had 3 goals to pursue. One was raise the educational bar. 2, district-wide accountability. And 3, stop runaway budgets. Okay? Those are my personal goals for the board. The 2004 budget was defeated for good reason. I call it a runaway budget. And I participated in its defeat very proudly. And after that, we passed 14 budgets in a row and counting. So that's got to say something about this organization here. Okay? So, in addition, bringing to the board my years of business experience is well the common sense approach toward problem solving. Building consensus and being part of the solution of the problem, sometimes. It's been extremely satisfying to have worked side by side with incredible and dedicated board and administrators. All in all, I want to thank all of you and my family for having put up with all these sometimes lengthy meetings. I will certainly miss all of you and all the relationship that we built. You have become part of my family, my friends, and I will miss it. God bless all of you. God bless Hawthorne, and God bless America. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Victor. The best of luck.
It's been a journey that I'd love every minute of it, as I said, you know. So this has been. Sometimes he cannot shut me up, but that's fine.
If you're okay, then we'll move on.
One more comment. The first thing that we achieved, seriously, was refurbish the clock tower by the high school. It was a mess. We secured enough funds to some of the Gente and the county, $30,000, and it was done. It still looks great. The second thing that we did, we refurbished the cafeteria, high school cafeteria. The tables were horrendous. I finally said to the board, if you don't want to pay for it, I'll pay for it. But they did pay though, so that's it.
Well, great. We do appreciate your time, your dedication, and the time you took away from your family. And Hawthorne's much better off. Thank you. So we're going to move on in our agenda a little bit, and we're going to look at the New Jersey School Board's, ask Kathy Hellaway to help us out and teach us a little more about the new superintendent evaluations that we have to do for next year.
Okay, that is a tough act to follow, but thank you very much for having me here tonight. And here's your goodie bag.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Thank you.
If you have an extra one, the board member.
Is there a new?
I have mine.
Okay. Oh,
Might as well grab one of these.
oh, my heavens, yeah, I've got one for you, absolutely. And you know what, I will give you one to follow along. Here you go. Thank goodness. So thanks for having me. And at the outset, I would just like to let you know, I'm not going to take up an awful lot of time, but I want to make sure I answer all of the questions that you have tonight. So stop me, ask a question, and if after I leave or at any time, because you're not going to be doing this for a while, you have questions, you've got my number. It's on the back of this booklet, it's on our website, you know how to reach me. So, the Chief School Administrator Evaluation Process. You have heard New Jersey School Board say a million times, if you've heard it once, it's one of the most important things for a Board of Education to do, is to evaluate its superintendent annually. But it's also important to get it done on time, right? I know you guys know how to evaluate your superintendent, and I know that you are dedicated to being, you know, the results are showing a high-performing board. But this year, we do need to pay really close attention to the timeline, because QSAC, it has a section on it now for getting that evaluation process finished by the 1st of July. And you lose either 6 or 7 points.
6 points.
Yeah, if you don't do it. You're already taking care of the other 6 or 7 points by having the training this evening, so thank you very much for thinking ahead. This is very good. So that's really what we need to keep our eye on. Besides all of the great things, the reasons why you do it, I can tell you also, it's not just because the New Jersey School Board says you do it, it's a great communication opportunity between the board and the superintendent. It's a great opportunity to look back over the year and to showcase all of the progress that you have made and how far you've come. That's all part of it. But you know, for all of that warm and fuzzy stuff, there's the law that we have to deal with, and that is right in the back of your booklets, the law and code that relates to the superintendent's evaluation of all the requirements for boards of education. And I will tell you at the outset, and you probably know this, you don't need to use New Jersey School Boards Association to assist you in doing the performance evaluation. But our instrument covers everything that's in the statute and code. So it's a good thing to use, and it's online, and it has been improved. The access has been improved, the method of saving your work has been improved, and people are pretty happy with it, that this is a very much improved instrument. But what you do have to do, whether you use New Jersey school boards or not, is it has to be a mutual decision how you're going to evaluate your superintendent. So if you guys want to use this, that's great. You know, if you don't, that's okay, just as long as both entities agree on the method to use. Okay? So that being said, I will walk you through what we've got, what we have to offer you. This new, we still call it the new evaluation, but now it's the only one that we have to offer. It's revamped with the help of the New Jersey Association of School Administrators, ASA. It took 3 years just about for us and ASA to work on this, and we're both very happy with the progress. The reason being that we've overhauled it is the old one hadn't been updated for a good 7 years. By the time we were done with it, the old one was about 10 years old. So what we did is we sat down and we went through what are called the PSEL standards, the Professional Standards for Educational Leaders. That came out, I think, in 2015 or something like that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that document, but it is very visionary. It is really an inspirational list of qualities that educators exhibit when they're at the top of their game and they're doing the best for their students. So we wanted to put that in our evaluation so boards would know what a top quality chief school administrator looks like and how their work advances the district and how their work pays off with student achievement, because really at the end of the day, everything you do, and especially this, is about student achievement. So if you notice, now there were 10 standards, and not all of them apply to superintendents. They're educational leaders, so some were more germane to school principals or, assistant deans or this or that. So with the ASA, we were able to go through the 10 standards and kind of consolidate them and winnow them down into 7 standards. So if you look through your booklet, the actual evaluation starts on page 6. Page 6 is very familiar. It's the goals. That hasn't changed. You'll have the goals that you agree on, and you'll evaluate your superintendent that way. Going on page 7 through, I think it's, 14 or so? It's going on to page, so it goes on to page 12. You'll see the standards. First one, mission, vision, and core values. Second, governance, ethics, and professional norms. Then we go on to operations management, curriculum and instruction, assessment and school improvement. Number 5, community of care, equity and family engagement. And 6, professional capacity and community of school district personnel. So right away when you're listening to these sound a lot better than what you're probably used to using from others. What also is nice about it is we have the standard, which we define, like what does mission, vision, core values? Is that just a bunch of, kind of trendy talk or buzzwords? No. Each standard is defined for you. And furthermore, each rating is defined for the standard. So what does exemplary look like for standard 1? What does exemplary look like for standard 5? It explains to you what you should be looking for. So it pretty much does a good job of getting everybody basically on the same page, because what I've noticed, and what my colleagues have certainly noticed, is that sometimes people will check off proficient and some people will check off exemplary, but they really mean the same thing, when you start talking to them. So that's what I think that this is pretty handy to have. The other thing too is that there are indicators that support each standard. So as you're thinking about how your superintendent does on each standard, you have 7 different items to check off and to really think about, as far as, is it exemplary, is it proficient, is it area for growth, unsatisfactory, or not observed? And when I say not observed, I mean not that, I don't see this, I expected to see this, but I haven't. That means I was conflicted out of it, I wasn't on the board at that time, it doesn't apply to our board, that's what non-observed is, completely neutral. But in any case, as you go through the indicators that support the standards, you check it off, and then what was kind of an oversight from our last evaluation, but has been corrected here, is you actually rate the standard. Before we had the same amount of standards, they were a little bit different and a little drier, And we have the indicators that everybody would check off, but no indication, no rating for the entire standard. So that was an oversight, we've corrected it. And I will tell you that if you check off a bunch of exemplaries, right? Let's say you go through standard 1 and it's exemplary in all 7. The assessment of standard 1 is not going to pre-fill. You still have to think about your work and check off one of those boxes, right? And that's because this particular instrument really focuses on a lot of thinking and a lot of conversation between the board members once you get the compiled document back. So when you think of that, also look at commentary. A lot of board members, I'd say most of the ones that I do, people don't quite think to make the comments, they think the ratings are sufficient. That might be the case, but I do believe that comments are very valuable because, like in years past, if you use this instrument, when everybody's done, I compile it into that one document with everybody's work, but everyone's contributions are anonymous. You don't know who's saying what or who's rating what. And it's kind of, if you see an odd rating, like one that kind of stands out and you're wondering, well, who put that and why, and there's no comment supporting, it kind of stops the conversation right there. So it's not really ideal. Think about comments. In this instrument, you cannot advance unless you make a comment. But I will tell you, star and asterisk, that's a comment. So there's a way around it, but I'm just kind of, advising you to really think before you advance. It just results in more of a quality instrument. And to assist you in creating a higher quality instrument, and this is really, to me, probably the biggest improvement. Well, I like the standards too, but as a board member, someone who was a board member, and who had to do this myself, and I'd sit there and I'd go like, well, I know she's good at this, my superintendent, but how do I improve it? Or how do I direct my thoughts? Like, how do I make a ranking based on more than just a vibe, right? Or my faulty memory, or just something that I kind of think might have happened. You will have, when you sign on to do this, after Mr. Sperito has reviewed himself, you will have links. You'll see here in the middle of this page, the superintendent selected evidence for standard 1, that goes forward for all of the standards. The superintendent will add what we're calling artifacts or evidence from throughout the year that demonstrates his mastery of the standard. And you will see that you can click on it. Everyone will have access to the same document at the same time. You don't have to go through your notes and your agendas and all of that. It will be right there for you. So right away, I think that does help you to make a better quality evaluation. And it will help you with the comments too. And also, you will be able to do that for the goals too. There'll be live links, that's the way it's set up. And it's more work for your superintendent, I will tell you that. But it does make things very user-friendly for board members on this evaluation. After the evaluation is completed by everyone who is non-conflicted, then I compile them into that document, and you use that to write a narrative review of your superintendent. And there are actually templates for that in the back here. You'll see them on page 13. So you'll have the indicators towards the goals. You'll have supporting remarks as usual. And then you'll do the leadership standards one by one if you use this template. You don't have to, but it's a very good instrument to use. And I will also tell you that if you're used to using our old tool, at the end you have these open-ended questions. We don't have those anymore on the individual side. But you do have, on page 16, on the final page, the superintendent demonstrates strengths in the following areas and where you can grow and improve. I will tell you that that language comes directly from the statute. So that's more of a board conversation. What we were having when we asked the open-ended questions of individual board members, it seemed like one board member would put something in and a lot of people wouldn't, and that would wind up in the evaluation. that's not the way it's supposed to work, because this is a board instrument. This is not the work of any one individual. This is a majority opinion document. So, if you have all exemplaries and one unsatisfactory, that one unsatisfactory is drowned out. That does not go in here. That's an outlier. And outlier contributions do not go in the narrative. It's a majority document. Okay? So I'm wondering if you guys, do you have any questions about this? Is there anything
Well, the old version, and I don't know what this is going to look like until we do it, when you talked about the comments, you might make a comment in the early portion of the evaluation. A lot of it's crossovers. We kind of evaluate the same type of stuff, even though it's new category. You run out of stuff to say after
Well,
you do.
Yeah, yeah.
You really do. So when you see the asterisks or periods,
Oh, well, no judgments, believe me,
I'm
I
just being
get it.
honest about it.
No, it's a fair point to make. It honestly is. I think that when you have the artifacts, that will help you to kind of,
Mhm.
you know, be a little more in-depth with your comments. And you know what, honestly, what's important to me, and to my colleagues as we talk about this process, is the conversation. It's not the individual's work. So although the comments are helpful because they spur that conversation among board members, what do you think about this point? Is everyone, or you'll see that everyone is pretty much in agreement on a certain thing, or there may be dissenting opinions or not a clear majority answer. That's where the comments really come in handy, but they don't replace discussion. They don't. So all that, but thanks for mentioning that, because I think that is a realistic picture of what, you know, board members are asked to do. You'll notice it's not quick, you know, it's something that requires a lot of thought. And I really don't have a magic wand for that to say, here's some tips and tricks to get it done in 10 minutes. But what I can tell you is that it is really exemplary when I see a board sitting down and doing this from start to finish and really thinking about it. And that your students benefit, right? So that being said about this particular instrument, let's talk about the actual process a little bit.
Kathy, can I ask you about the instrument before you get into the process?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that you don't have to use this.
No, you don't.
So when you say that, though, the old instrument is still something you can use, or?
No, I'm so sorry.
No, that's what I want to
It's
clarify.
gone. Yeah,
I didn't
it's
think so,
gone.
but I wanted to clarify. My other question is, so if you don't use this, you can create your own? Is that basically what the thought is?
You can.
But it's a lot of work to create.
It is a lot of work, and you'll notice, like, the statute and the code is very wordy. It's very, you know, it's got a lot of instructions to
So if
it.
you use this, you're
Exactly.
sure to be covering what's in that statute.
Takes care of everything. Yeah.
It has to be July 1st for QSAC purposes.
Completed by
July 1st, done. You have to have the document with board president's signature and the superintendent's signature.
It's something we're looking for in
Done.
QSAC now.
Yeah, and it's got to be part of the board minutes too, so backdating it is going to be, you know, is not recommended. I actually had somebody say, oh, well, we can backdate. I'm like, well, all right, I mean, not a good idea. So I'm very pleased to be able to talk to you guys about it, that your eyes are on it.
Question on the instrument, assuming we use the template, are there more standards, or is what we're seeing the entire evaluation?
That's the entire evaluation, yeah. So if there was another standard that this board wanted to add to it, it's not, you know, it's not going to be, you can't kind of, it's not like the goals where you can add your own goals. You can't add your own standard. And I don't think that that's a problem because we use, you know, the PSEL standards, which are the gold standard in educational leadership. And also, they do help board members kind of stay, I'm not saying anything about this board, but stay in their swim lanes. You know, because sometimes, a lot of times, especially board members who are used to corporate reviews, kind of branch out into an area that may not really work for a board superintendent relationship. And we work with ASA very closely on this, about their seal, not just their seal of approval, they're very enthusiastic about it. So we know we're doing something right.
As long as we complete this, we're in compliance and.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, That's really one of the best things about it. So if you look at page 5, we have a nice little calendar here. And I would suggest that at your reorg or shortly after, you start working on this and you dedicate certain meetings to each of the steps that you will need to go through to accomplish this. Because I gotta tell you, if someone is asking me for the compilation, on June 15th and they're trying to get it done by July 1st, something's gonna be missing. It's not really going to be working in accordance with the statute. Because that to me is, unless they call a special meeting, and that's kind of hard. But in any case, so we'll start from the top. So you have your goal setting, your action plan, blah, blah, because that's part of what the review is. And throughout the year, your superintendent is giving you updates on the district goals and progress towards them in public session, however the board does it, whether it's quarterly, monthly, semi-annually, however it works. But those you're already taking care of. The third box is something new, something you haven't seen before, and it's something that in conjunction with ASA we're advocating for, called the Superintendent Evaluation Pre-Conference. Our suggestion for that is that it comes after a public session where you update everybody on your progress towards district goals, right? Because that's public session stuff. Then you convene an executive session, of course, non-conflicted board members only. And that's where you have a conversation about what you're about to embark on. Your superintendent may explain to you the type of artifacts that you are going to see, that he's been working on. You may mention what you might like to see. Maybe some of these standards or some of these goals have different weights. Maybe standard number 1 is not quite as important to this board as standard number 5. So it's kind of good for you to know that, right? It's also it is kind of like in the corporate world before you're evaluated, where you have that pre-conference. So it has it shares some of those characteristics, but again, it's another opportunity to talk and discuss about what's in front of you and what you can expect. Now, if you are using our instrument, Rich will open the door, he'll self-evaluate just like he always does, and you guys will get a system-generated email that says it's open, you can go in and do your evaluation. I just want to add, a lot of those emails last year for both the old and the new evaluation were going to spam. They're system-generated emails. I didn't even realize it, and obviously my board members didn't realize it, and they're just going, where is it? Where is it? So if he tells you, I'm done, the portal is open. You don't have to wait for that email. You can go in, log in, and do the evaluation yourself. So, or check your spam. Hopefully that won't happen.
Kathy, I'm sorry.
No.
So in terms of these artifacts, can I go in and begin entering artifacts, or do I have to just collect them and then put them all in at one time?
There are different strategies. As far as I know, it's going to open around February for you to start putting things in. Some of my superintendents, and I can put you in touch with someone if you want who's already done this, they've been creating folders. And so when it's open, they'll just add the live link to the evaluation. But they've already been, some people who are used to using this, and those who helped us make this, the people who are on the team have been doing that already. So maybe that'll be a practice for
Creating folders in my Google Drive, in other words,
Yeah, that's what they do.
I create folders and I can link them to my drive. Interesting, okay.
That's the way it's supposed to work. So, if it doesn't, you gotta let me know, but that's the way, and I've heard it's working,
Okay.
but it's,
All right, no, that's a good idea.
I do have to put that disclaimer out there, if you have problems, let me know, okay, because we'll
Okay.
get on it. We don't foresee any, but you know, okay. So we have your superintendent pre-conference, that's a nice discussion with the whole board, so you'll need a meeting for that, right? After that, the superintendent will do a self-evaluation and open up the evaluation for everyone to go in and complete. So that'll take some time for everybody to do their individual evaluations, right? And then after that, I compile the document that everyone has completed and I deliver it to the board president. And then there will be another meeting that you'll need to all convene in executive session, non-conflicted members only, to do what you're used to doing, looking at the compiled document and having that discussion, what should this evaluation say? And that's for the board to decide what the evaluation is saying. Your president or your designee, if you don't write the evaluation, can actually use our template and get it done that night. And it is also live, so you can actually type it into, it's a live document, so you don't have to write it out in. And then after that, we have what we call the annual summary conference. And this is what needs to be done by the 1st of July. This is executive session, so you write your superintendent, as you're writing him throughout. You're writing him for the pre-conference, you're writing him for the discussion of the results of the evaluation, and you write for the annual summary conference. And that's where you go over the narrative review. You've given it to your superintendent beforehand, so he's prepared, and you can have maybe a short discussion, it may be a long discussion, maybe virtually no discussion, but that's where anything that needs to be said is said. And this is where, in this annual summary conference, if there are minority opinions or outliers, those can be discussed at that summary conference. They just can't be put in black and white. They are not part of the evaluation. Some superintendents are very interested to find that out, others not so much. It completely depends on the board and the superintendent. But that's the place for conversation about anything that surrounds this evaluation. Signed by the board president, signed by the superintendent, and you are done. And your QSAC is healthy, which is a real, you think about all the people who work so hard to get a good score on QSAC. This one is completely in your court. So what I would recommend is you see these steps here, and we have a sample calendar, you build your board meeting schedule around it. So when you're doing reorganization, it might be a good idea to say, okay, our June meeting is going to be for this, that sort of thing. And let me know how it goes, and I will keep you on track to it. Okay? But even if you don't use us, just make sure that you have a spot for the summary conference. That's got to be at a board meeting. Okay, it's got to be the entire non-conflicted board. Right? Some districts have been doing it in the past where just the president and the vice president meet with the superintendent. That's opposite of what the law says. So have one for that, have one for, have a meeting for you all to discuss what the results were, and have a meeting for the pre-conference. You'll be in good shape. If there are other questions you have, because I think I covered everything. Hope I didn't talk too long, and then a long agenda.
So did the statute change or the statute is the same?
The statute is the same, it's just that now people are paying attention. And I will also tell you that I'm not kidding you, I have a wonderful board with a great school, and I just delivered their compilation yesterday. So school boards have been kind of not really doing it exactly, and I guess the state figures, let's just corral everybody. There is real benefit to doing it on time, because then when you start your new school year, your superintendent will have a really good picture of what the board expects.
And the QSAC, it's 7 points out of how many?
You know what, it depends on the section, I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know the answer to that either, but I can tell you that's a chunk.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
a lot
a
of
chunk.
points.
Yeah.
It's a lot of points.
Yeah, it's a shocker, actually. And still, the board self-evaluation is not required of the QSAC, which is very interesting, but the superintendent evaluation.
That's good.
So we've been pretty good about it, but it's good to get a refresher and, like you're saying, incorporate it into the rework calendar, so that's.
Yeah, I know, yeah, you guys are good, and you do, you have board, I don't know what they do. There's one board that I work with that really doesn't do the evaluation. The world still turns on its axis and it's fine, but it's not really fine, So kudos to you guys for taking it as seriously as you do, and for having me in to talk to you all about it. And I'm happy to support you, going forward.
Anybody have any questions for Kathy? Great. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. If you're
Have a
sure
great
you don't
holiday.
want to stay on the board, participate in this one.
I'm sure you're no problem leaving on this one.
Happy holidays to
Have a
all.
good holiday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next up is our reports. Elizabeth Fitter, our student rep, council rep, is sick tonight, so Mrs. Sparito will fill in for her.
Thank you, sir. So before I get to Elizabeth's report, I just also want to congratulate Victor. Thank you for your service to this district, and I know my kids have benefited from it. You've been on the board a long time, and my kids have benefited from it, so I appreciate all of your time and dedication to the board and the school district. All right, good luck to you. We'll see you around, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
We're going to see you around. Good luck to you. I also want to thank Trudy and commend her for the work that she does with our, obviously with our budget, and then obviously having another clean audit. So thank you for all your hard work. Okay, as Mr. Sciarra mentioned, Elizabeth is under the weather tonight, so I'll just share her report quickly, and then I'll share some things on my behalf. So I'll read what Elizabeth wrote. Hawthorne High School has been getting in the holiday spirit this December. At the school store, we've been selling many of the unique Hawthorne, New Jersey ornaments, courtesy of Ms. Russo and Ms. Ambrosio in the art department. On December 13th, the senior class hosted the 2019 holiday dance, and it was a success at Macaluso's. Everyone came together to support a fun night. Following the dance on December 14th, Senior Fun Day was held, and seniors had the opportunity to come in at 9:25, getting some much-needed extra sleep, have breakfast catered by Sunrise Bagels, participate in a volleyball tournament, have pizza from student council, and spend the rest of the day enjoying company of others. It was definitely a lot of fun and something I'll never forget. December 17th, we began the new Holiday Spirit Week, with each day promoting school spirit. The Culture and Wellness Committee held a Naughty or Nice shirt fundraiser, and those shirts will be worn for points during Spirit Week. So every day during Spirit Week this week, they're doing something different. Each winter sport has started their practices for the season, and bowling has started their season, winning 3-0 in their first match. The rest of the winter sports competed, actually basketball starts tonight against Glenrock. We wish all of our teams the best of luck during the winter season. Mrs. DiGeronimo has been especially busy this month and was a featured presenter at the New Jersey Association of School Librarians annual conference in Long Branch, New Jersey. Ms. DiGeronimo presented a session entitled Boosting the Library Program Through Creative Makerspace Scheduling. On December 5th, the library hosted the annual Hour of Code. An overflow crowd of students, faculty, and administrators joined guest presenter Alex Eckert from Code HS for an hour of exploration of computer programming that guided participants through tutorials on the creation of apps, videos, music, design, games, and much more. Hour of Code is a global event involving 180 plus countries and takes place each year during Computer Science Education Week. Hawthorne was one of the 209,342 events registered in 2018. Mrs. DiGeronimo visited Mrs. Pasquale's pre-calculus honors class to help them understand copyright law, intellectual property, and image licensing when they create their Starbucks business plan presentations. Makerspace lunchtime workshops focused on holiday creations, giving students the opportunity to use their lunch periods to make 3D designed and printed ornaments, acrylic flow art vases and paintings, and paper craft pop-up cards. These workshops combine art with technology, chemistry, and architecture. This year, the winter show was incredible. The school's rendition of The Christmas Carol was brilliantly done, with Hawthorne High School senior Chris Branna as Ebenezer Scrooge. The cast gave many emotional thanks to Ms. Griffin and Ms. Renee for their dedication and hard work put into making the show a success. And finally, students and teachers voted this month to award Mr. Corvo the Bear Award. He definitely deserved it, so congratulations to Mr. Corvo. So that's it for my report. Okay, and just a few things, I'm not going to, just a lot of the things that she talked about, I was going to mention, I mentioned the Hour of Code, I did participate again. We had approximately 50 students in the media center. Very, very well attended. It was a great event. I enjoyed it myself. I would go every year, but the students really enjoyed it. Mrs. DiGeronimo does a great job of organizing it at the high school. I also attended the fall production at the high school, Christmas Carol. You know, as always, our students did a wonderful job with the fall production. It's always a lot of fun. I also want to commend all of our schools for their winter concerts. Our last one is actually tomorrow night at Hawthorne High School, so if you have an opportunity, tomorrow night, 7:30 at the high school is the high school winter concert. It's really nice for me because I get to see the elementary, middle school, high school, the progression of the students as they grow in their musical skills. So it's really a nice time of year for me. I want to mention that we had some of our varsity cheerleaders over the summer. They attended a camp this summer, and they were nominated by the National Cheerleading Association for their sportsmanship, dancing, tumbling, and stunting skills. They were, in essence, designated as All-Americans or nominated as All-Americans, and they were given an opportunity to participate in the varsity parade at Disney World to honor their success. We had a few girls. They're actually, Mayor and Council invited them to their meeting tomorrow night. They'll be attending the Mayor and Council meeting tomorrow night. So it's Ali Christie, Janine Chalemi, Drina Alvarez, Nicole Giovanello, Nicole Spirito, Sydney Bavaro, Gianna Scola, Gianna Fascini, Emily Nemper, and Mackenzie Scribbins. They actually participated, and it's allegedly, we'll see, it's supposed to be on TV on Christmas Day. So they actually participated in the parade, and nice experience for the girls. The other thing I mentioned last year, I'll mention again, we participate, Mrs. Denise has our students in the middle school and high school participate in something called the Patriots Pen Essay Contest. It's sponsored by the VFW, and I'll just quickly share what this is. Conducted nationwide, the VFW-sponsored youth essay competition gives students an opportunity to write essays expressing their views on an annual patriotic theme. We invite you to join the more than 120,000 students who participated in last year's contest. The national winners receive at least $500, and the first place national award is currently $5,000, plus an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C. for the winner and their parents. The entries are voted on at the post level. It says the only exception is where schools, classes, or youth groups have large numbers of students who wish to conduct their own competition, submitting one winner for each 15 students to the local VFW post competition, and they vote, and it goes from there. But I just want to recognize, here are the winners. This year, Lincoln Middle School, third place was Ariana Perez, second place was Sarah Suleiman, and first place was Emily Barbieri. At the high school, third place Amanda Brady, second place Alexander Nader-Shavili, and Ezekiel Soma is first place for Hawthorne High School. So just wanted to mention those names and congratulate them on being recognized as part of that Patriots Pen Essay Contest. And the last two things I have, I just want to mention the TREPS event. As you know, some of you were there last Tuesday, December 11th, we had our 5th grade TREPS event at Roosevelt School. Another fantastic event. They do a great job. Kids seem to really enjoy it. There's actually a whole host of pictures. The woman who runs TREPS, Pam DeWall, was actually at our event. She took like 180 pictures. I shared them on the Hawthorne High School Facebook, the Hawthorne Public Schools Facebook page. So if you want to see some of the pictures, you can go there and view. I think there was 185 pictures or something she put up there. Great event. Mrs. D'Alessandro and Mrs. Tomasini do a great job with the 5th graders, and I know the kids really enjoy it. Another great event, great job by our 5th graders and the teachers. And finally, I just want to share, and there's some time, this isn't all ironed out yet, but we're working together with the Municipal Alliance, the Hawthorne Stigma-Free Community Committee, and the Hawthorne Police Department to host a program on the opioid epidemic. Looks like it's going to be in March. March 25th is the tentative date right now at Hawthorne High School. So we're working together with all the goals groups that I mentioned, the Municipal Alliance, the Stigma-Free Community Committee, and the Police Department, and the school district, obviously, to put together a program that we can offer to parents on opioids and this opioid epidemic. So I'll give you more information as it gets closer, but just something we're working on. And it's nice that all the groups in town are partnering to we usually do something with the Municipal Alliance, but this year the Stigma-Free Community Committee has jumped on board, and the Police Department, they're always very supportive of the programs that we would like to share. So there'll be an opportunity for any parents or community members who would like to participate. And with that said, I'll just wish everybody happy holidays and happy and healthy 2019.
Thank you, Mrs. Sprito. Up next is curriculum instruction, Ms. Cohen.
Thank you. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Curriculum and Instruction recommends the following resolutions. CI 1 through CI 3 on page 3. CI 4 through CI 6 on page 4. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Sprito, for
Yes.
CI4,
CI4, yes.
educational evaluations, is this an LDTC we're contracting? Is this in addition to our in-house?
So, great question. So CI4 and, we didn't get to personnel yet. There's one on personnel that we'll discuss as well.
Okay.
But CI4, as you know, we have an LDTC at Jefferson who's retired and leaving at the end of the month.
Right.
So we haven't been able to replace her.
Okay.
So we're using this Judith Johnson to do some of the testing that's required, evaluations. And then we're actually increasing one of our current staff members to assist with some of the case management until we can replace that LDTC. So that's really the purpose of this.
I forgot about that with the mid-year retirement.
Yes.
Okay. So she'll just be on an as-needed basis? the
Yeah,
CI4?
until we can replace her. Ms. Picatello's actively searching. We've interviewed a few candidates. Hope we had somebody, and she kind of hasn't committed. So we're, as soon as we can find somebody, we want to fill that spot, obviously. All right.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Plus?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford? Yes. Ms. Taraglia?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Scarra?
Yes. Personnel, Ms. Cox.
The following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. P7 through P10 on page 4, P11 through P21 on page 5, P22 on page 6, and P33 and 34 on page 10. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Discussion?
Question on P4, P12? P12, yes, sir.
Just to explain, obviously it's going to be a parent night, but
So they've been hosting, and they use title funds to provide, they do some parent nights at Washington. They've been doing that for the last couple of years. And they provide different programs. This particular one is a parent night for math assistants. So they kind of work with parents. It's actually something, to be honest, that we're talking about doing in all the schools. They've been doing that through Title I fund because it's the Title I school at Washington. They've been doing that for the last few years. I'd like to expand it to more than just Washington, to be honest with you.
thank you.
And I have just a quick editing note on P15.
Yes.
I believe it's a typo. Should that be 12/31/18?
Yes, thank you. That she's, Mrs. Viata, she's resigning at the end of this month, so it should be 18,
Okay.
December of 18, that's correct.
Mr. Sprito, for
Yes.
P33, this is the Kathy Del Casco who's currently the social worker.
Correct.
She has an additional license, I'm assuming?
No, she's not gonna do testing, but she's gonna do some
Oh, she's
case.
gonna do-
She's just gonna assist at Jefferson with some of the classes up there, some of our special ed. She's
Okay.
kind of helping oversee them now.
But she's only 3 days a week now?
She's 3, we're
Okay.
increasing her to 4. And again, just to fill in some of the gaps.
That's great that we had that person who was
Yeah.
available and willing to take
Yeah,
that.
but that's why we needed Judith Johnson, because she can't do the evaluations,
Okay,
but she'll assist in other ways.
perfect, okay.
Do you know how well attended those evening parent presentations are?
I don't know year to year. My understanding is they do have people that attend, otherwise I think they wouldn't continue them. I don't know the exact numbers though, of attendees. I can check this year when they have them. Because like I said, I think it's a good idea for us to expand. And maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be in every school, but if we offered it to other parents district-wide, like if we have people who are already running them, you don't want too large, but on the flip side, if we can combine, maybe run Washington and Jefferson together and do a separate one for Roosevelt, something along those lines.
Maybe you can turn into that engagement committee. You can see that on the evaluation form, that's one of the, at least in their template, that's one of the standards that they want.
That's a good idea.
And just, I'd be wondering how we're calling it to make sure we have a large amount of attendance as
Yes,
well.
well, they communicated to the parents of Washington, because it's specific to Washington.
Right, I understood that, right. It's that you have to commute to another school, and it's not available to them.
Do you know what's covered in that presentation?
My understanding is they use the current materials, the materials that we're using, and they work with parents on how you can support your child at home. A lot of that's a lot of the discussion of how they can support their children at home using that series and the curriculum that is being taught. It's just kind of a way to say to parents, here's how you can help at home, your kids are at home. That's the concept behind it.
Do you think those teachers would be would be able to film it and put it on the website so that people who can't attend could at least benefit from watching it?
It's a great idea.
It's a good question. Our website right now, I don't think it can support
The bandwidth is
video.
not
Can we
ready.
do a link?
Well,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, we
YouTube.
could do YouTube, that's true. So it's something we can talk, we
Okay.
can consider, sure, it's a good idea, actually.
It's the same presentation, correct?
Yeah, it's the same materials, district-wide, absolutely.
Why not?
It's a good thought.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
I know a lot of parents that are struggling with the math program.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting enough, one of the things that, when we did the family engagement, we talked about, doing video and this would be a great way to reach out to them.
Right?
And they can look at it any time now also.
Yes.
They can refer back to it.
Yes?
That actually is great.
Washington. Okay, thank you.
What's wrong tonight? Yeah, I love it. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes. Sorry. I'm going to abstain on P14, yes to everything else.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Ms. Traglia?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Scarra?
Yes. Finance Administration, Mr. Clavijo, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have acceptance of donations, we have two of them. A, acceptance of a donation of a used iPad mini valued at approximately $150 from Natalie Caballero Rios and Richard Rios for Miss Austria's preschool class. We also have acceptance of a donation of $3,648.41 from the Boys and Girls Club of Hawthorne for the purchase of a TV and Chromebooks for Lincoln Middle School. Thank you to our donors. Action items on page 6. After F23, pursuant to the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions. F23. And on the next page, page 7, F24 to 830. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Discussion?
I just have a question on the money from the Boys and Girls Club. Is that for one of their programs, or is that for the school?
So
Do you know?
TV, they're going to actually mount it in the cafeteria because most of the year, right now they're not using it because of wrestling, but most of the year that's where they've been housed. Ever since we redid the STEM room, we put them into the caf. So they're gonna run some announcements on there, but we can use it as well, obviously. So during the day, if there are things going on, sort of like in the high school, when you go into the high school, they have a TV with scrolling announcements. They're gonna do the same thing at Lincoln. And then the Chromebooks, I'm sure they are using them, but again, I think they will be available to our students as well.
But that was my question, so they're donating them for their program?
Well, they're
What
using
kind of
them.
it's gonna be
It's
there,
gonna be a
and then-
dual purpose. I mean, they're both have access to them, is my understanding.
Okay. Do we know how much, because that could be a lot of Chromebooks.
Well, I don't know how much the TV, I don't
Depending
know
how big
how much
the
the
TV is.
TV was.
$600-700, maybe.
13.
$1,300?
13 Chromebooks.
13 Chromebooks.
Oh,
Oh. No, it's great, I was just curious.
Yeah. it's great.
No, thank you.
It's a nice
I
donation.
mean, in essence, it's for their program, but it's always our kids, because remember, our kids are the ones
Right.
using them, and they have to program for homework or whatever they're using.
Absolutely.
So it benefits regardless if it's their program or ours, our kids benefit from it.
Exactly, okay. Perfect, thank you.
Anybody else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Traglia?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
I'm going to abstain from F27, yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mrs. Scarra?
Yes. Claims, Mr. Doyle, please.
So I got an early Christmas present. I had the pleasure of finding the big blue bin out in front of my house.
You're welcome.
I thought it was something from Amazon, but to my dismay, it was just the monthly bills. Once again, Trudy and her staff have done a fine job. Everything was nicely organized, easy for me to go through. And actually, wasn't too heavy this month, so thank you for that. Everything was in order. I had one question. It was quickly answered. Good to go. So, in accordance with NJAC 6A:23-2:11, B, C, 3, and C4. I went through the bills, find them in order, and I recommend that we approve them for the month. On behalf of myself, I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Reicher.
Yes.
Ms. Sanford.
Yes.
Mr. Traglia.
Yes.
Mr. Turco.
Yes, with reservation on anything pertaining to PCTI and NRESC, NRECS, right?
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes.
Ms. Goff.
Yes.
Mr. Palooz.
Yes.
Mr. Scarra.
Yes with prejudice on amendment number 2875, yes on all of these. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Doyle.
So with the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Buildings and Grounds recommends the following resolutions, over on page 8, BG 32. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Sanford.
Yes.
Mr. Traglia.
Yes.
Mr. Turco.
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes.
Ms. Goff.
Yes.
Mr. Palooz.
Yes.
Mr. Reicher.
Yes.
Mr. Scarra.
Yes. Committee liaison reports, for buildings and grounds, referendum, and Board of Rec, Mr. Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing to report for Board of Rec, and Buildings and Grounds did not formally meet. However, there was crossover with our referendum committee. The referendum committee did meet. There were several questions that we needed answered from the last meeting we had. We got those answers that we were seeking, and what happens many of the times is additional questions get generated from the answers that we got, and that's exactly what happened. So we're waiting for solutions to answer some more questions. Then we plan for the committee to review that stuff very quickly, and we are tentatively looking at a work session on the reorg meeting, which I believe is January 2nd. So if things go well, we'll have a work session that evening and move forward with discussion on referendum, presenting all the new information. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. Finance Administration, Mr. Clavijo.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met, the auditors presented. We also discussed the leases for the copiers. The contract's coming to an end. New offers are being evaluated. So we voted upon the substitute secretary rate. The recommendation was to raise it from $80 to $85 to be consistent with the increase that the substitute teachers got and to remain competitive. Also, room 123 is going to get updated technology. There's quotes that are being obtained. The main purpose is to upgrade the technology so that the main screen and the TVs on the side are all in sync. The budget is the budget for 2019-2020 is on its way. Rick and Trudy met with the different administrators this month, and we'll sit with the Finance Committee next month to review them. Also, the Pontonian online lunch orders are being tested at Jefferson Elementary. Being that that's a smaller school, it's being the test school for accepting credit cards. The idea being to streamline that process. Also, the website and the app was discussed by Mr. Spirito. Our contract is coming to an end, and the district is evaluating their different options. Insurance, question was asked as far as property and casualty insurance, how often it gets shopped around. We are part of a consortium, and those policies get shopped on a yearly basis. And being that we're part of that consortium, that usually yields us the best rates available in the market.
Thank you, Mr. Clavijo.
Excuse me, Mr. President, I just wanted, Mrs. Spiro, can you just comment a little bit that you brought up at the Finance Committee meeting?
Yes.
About the number of children that applied to PCTI?
Yes, right now, there are, we got to receive a list, there's approximately 65 students in the 8th grade class that have applied to PCTI.
I thought you said 83.
No, PCTI, there's 65 who applied to PCTI, and there's other students who applied at other private schools.
Oh,
But
okay.
65 to
65
PCTI,
PCTI.
out of about 165 in the 8th grade.
Okay. just to quantify that, if every child was accepted and did go,
Correct.
that would cost us about $1 million in addition to what we're spending now.
Correct.
And if you had 60 some odd children go each year, our bill at PCTI would become $4 million moving forward, which would make a big cut in our budget.
Yes, sir.
I just want all board members to be aware of that. That's all. Thank you.
So you understand, when I first got on the board, that was about what we had, about 60 students total. Now we're talking about 60 that applied to the 8th grade. Now, we don't know how many are going to be accepted, but BCTI has a whole STEM building right now they're looking to try to fill. So one of the things that we have to look at when we're looking at our future, what are the things that we could put in place to try to keep as many students here? What kind of offerings could we? It's important for us to think, especially when we're looking at a referendum, what kind of things that we can do here internally for us.
But as you mentioned that, and to his point, to Lou's point, the more students that end up going up there, the money comes out of our budget. There's a fallacy out there that it's dollar for dollar, the same cost per student, even if it was, not counting busing, even if it cost you the exact same dollar amount, it's not money that we magically take. It's money that comes out of our budget, which means we eventually have to cut programs, cut teachers, so we're actually going backwards. So yes, it's great that we are trying, for years we've been trying to expand, but it's a slow move forward, and then a school like that gets, a huge $30 million program, building, and it's hard to compete with. So I think it's not a level playing field, and I think people have to understand that it's nothing against the education that they're offering. It's against the system that's out there right now, that we have a 2% cap that we have to try to adhere to. We can't give raises and we can't, expand programs because we're under a cap, but yet there's another school that's a public school that has no cap.
But once again, to follow up on your point, you're 1,000% correct. The fallacy as to how it is financed is out there and people don't understand it, which if this pace continues, not just for us, for the Lakelands, the Passaic Valleys, the Cliftons, the Waynes, it's got to be brought to a head, or we're all going to be part of PCTI someday soon.
To piggyback on that, just so the public understands, our budget for about 24 to 25, a little under 2,500 students, and that encompasses high school and middle school, and then obviously elementary school. Our budget's about $42 to $43 million. For 3,000 students, not the 4,000 that they're projecting, at 3,000, I believe their budget's over $80 million. So it's almost double for 500 more students. Now, they're all at a high school level, and the way the state figures out, the high school has more value for when they offer A up, but it's crazy.
One more point too,
Okay.
as we sat here and debated back and forth with the increase in state aid that we received and gave back some to the taxpayer, some to our budget, they, meaning the board at PCTI and the county freeholders, received $3.5 million in increased state aid. We did not see a penny of that, meaning in relief of tuition or relief of county taxes. And once again, that's something that needs to get out there.
And we did make the request.
Yes, exactly.
We did make the
Right, along
request.
with a few other districts, correct?
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know you've been very involved in this for the longest time.
Yeah.
What's the answer?
To me, at this point in time, what is the answer? The answer is, which I'm glad to see, the superintendents have begun to obviously become very aware of it and begun to make some inroads to people who can maybe do something for us. But I think at this point, you literally have to have some type of a gathering of town councils and mayors, because I'm very confident that most mayors and town councils throughout Passaic County have no idea how PCTI is funded, and that their constituents are taxed twice. They're taxed to their county taxes, and they are taxed to their school taxes to fund PCTI. Right now, and it's also it's got to get out to the public via the newspapers, et cetera, et cetera. But I think right now, the two groups of superintendents and your individual governments in each community need to come together at this point.
But you feel that there's a lot of unison on this?
That there's what?
Unison, countywide.
Well, there's a lot of unity among the people that are hurting by it, meaning the superintendents,
Right.
school districts. Unfortunately, politics comes into play, and that's where it gets swept under the rug. But I think at this point, their group, the superintendent's group, have to begin to make inroads, public statements, and I believe that, again, it's just my opinion, the mayors and town councils have to become aware of what's going on.
See, we could never compete what they offer. It's impossible to get $80 million, get half of that here.
And nobody wants to compete.
Yeah, I think that, again, I don't know anyone that goes to, say, tech, Win Tech, whatever they call it, PCTI. I don't know of anyone, but some of the parents, they said, my son is not going to go to college. He wants to be an auto mechanic, for example. That's what they offer.
And that's
It's a
fine.
great program. What a treasure. We could never compete with all these programs. I mean, it's impossible.
Well, Victor, you got to remember the way PCTI, a trade school, was developed because the local school districts couldn't afford to keep these programs going. So the idea of having a vocational school offer these types of programs was great. It answered for the students. A couple things have happened, okay? There's been a push from industries for education to push for colleges. So PCTI and vocational schools started losing some enrollment. But if you look at the skill gap today, the biggest skill gap out there is in trades. There are jobs out there, they don't have enough people to work.
Absolutely.
And now, vocational schools such like PCTI have abandoned it. I mean, when I say abandoning, they're no longer putting their money towards expanding
Not
their
priority,
trade.
their curriculum.
That's right.
Correct.
They have now gone into our wheelhouse, which is educating for college bound, okay? And where we get now we're sensitive to it because we feel that it has a direct impact. But but children are going for vocational needs. That's what PCTI should be doing. And I think nobody here has a problem with that.
Would you say that 25 years ago, it was more of a collaboration, and now it's more of a competition?
That's what I've always said.
And I think that by their own presentation, if I recall the number correctly, the amount of students, the percentage of students that are pursuing college prep is something like in the 80%. I forget the number. So then the student that's a true trade student, we don't offer it here. We don't have the funding for it. And if your VOTECs aren't serving that community, then you have that student that's a true trade student. They're at a loss because where do they go at that point?
A double taxation to us, that's the issue of it. How do we compete? How much can we stretch, the taxpayers' capabilities?
I'll let you know this. I found this out when I was down at the school board convention that Middlesex County pays 100% of their vocational school. No school district pays into it. It's the only county in the state that does that.
That'd be nice.
That would be very nice.
We're the highest, we're our county, I believe. is the
We are.
highest.
It is, and the county's
Highest
portion
percentage of
gives the
our
least,
portion
the
is
state
high.
county gives the least amount.
$7 million a year, and it's been the same $7 million for umpteen years. But their budget goes up, but their contribution to peace, why do they have to?
Right.
The state gives them money, the federal government gives them money, and they raise tuition.
It's a losing proposition for us and the rest of the state county districts.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Just to piggyback on what Alex was saying, I think when we looked at it, I think it was 2 years ago, I think the exact number was 88% of the PCTI students go to college. So they're certainly not a trade school anymore. They might have a piece of it that does that.
There's also plenty of kids going there for athletics, which is forgotten about as well. They're going there just for athletics.
I mean, my other points are not financial, but I think in light of a referendum possibly happening, is a couple ways to combat this, not financially, but by how you're branding yourself or what we have. If we do some of the things that possibly we could do in the future, we could be a K through 12 STEM academy, not a 9 through 12 STEM academy, which is pretty much what they have. So start kids from when they're 5 years old with all the STEM things. And we're doing a lot of these things already in the schools, but we want to do more. The other thing which has been discussed in the past is don't promote to the 8th grade students, go to PCTI, promote to the 5th and 6th grade students, go down to their level to promote PCTI, so they're hearing at an earlier time. And the other note that I wrote, which I don't know if this is possible or not, but what someone said would get the mayors together, get the towns together. I mean, would it ever be appropriate for us to make a presentation, like to the town council on PCTI from the Board of Ed? I'm just asking the question.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's everybody's money that's
I
going there.
will tell you that our mayor and council are aware and saw the same study myself and John Serpiglia did 3-4 years ago. It was put in front of their hands. I will tell you that.
Rick, do you know how many kids applied last year?
I'd have to look, it was not 65. I want to
Was
say.
it like 20? I mean, are we
No,
looking
I
at
would
a
say it's
huge
usually around
spike?
30.
It was like around 40.
30, 40 students,
Okay.
it wasn't 65.
Do we do any sort of exit interview or questionnaire that asks them why they're leaving?
No.
Could we? Is that something?
Sure, we could.
Like, I don't know, do they, I don't know, how do we even know they're applying? Do they require a transcript? Like, is that how we know?
Yeah, the guidance department gets.
So once that gets flagged within our system, can we then send some sort of like questionnaire, like a little bit more information?
Sure.
What is it that's making you go, look, or, you know,
That's a good idea.
there's
Well,
something you can do?
One of the things that I was speaking to Mrs. Frito about is, because, the guidance department is really strong in the high schools. We're preparing, our children for their life, whether it be post-secondary education or careers, stuff like that. And I think it's just Jen Barcelona, alone at the middle
Yeah,
school.
it's one
And, maybe we need some support there. And then we could, help them. And I know we're looking at having open houses now from not only just the 8th grade, but start when they come into the 6th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th one now, before after our open houses. We have a great town, we have a great school. What we found when we did the last, a lot of students didn't even know some of the things we have going on. So I think we have to also make them aware of that. We have to do that. That's where we have to make some improvements and inroads for ourselves. You just look at the town itself, you have second and third generations, people live here, people don't move. They go to school, they come back and they live here. You know that, Abby, when you had your candidate night.
They just keep finding outside people, marrying them, and then.
And coming back.
staying
The
here.
3 candidates, either, lived in town or married somebody who lives in town and they moved here. That's what this is,
And the other thing too is they market it.
Of course they do.
That's
And
what
they
I'm
have
saying,
money
yeah.
to market it.
Exactly.
Colored flyers and glossy paper and balloons and
Which is
cookies.
against. That's,
We can't do that.
Yeah.
It's
6A,
Yeah.
or 8, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I think I'm hoping for, just as Rick brought it up at our meeting, and we're talking about it tonight, because we had such an increase in applications, that it's happening. Which I guess that you know that, you'll probably know that answer. It's probably happening in other districts as well,
Yes,
your other superintendents.
yes.
And that's, when people start saying, well, I got $1 million I got to cut from the budget because I got to pay for PCTI.
Yes.
People knew it was coming, but now it's here.
Right.
And I'm just hoping, because I've been so passionate about this, that it comes to a head sooner rather than later.
Most people do, they have actually no concept that's double pay for
No.
us.
That's my
No
opinion, Victor,
concept.
my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, most people don't know.
Victor, I would guess that most people don't realize, if you ask them what a freeholder does, they probably wouldn't. Because go back a few years, I wouldn't know. I know that what a freeholder does.
I call freeloaders,
Well,
not freeholders.
On TV.
Well, he's leaving, so he doesn't care.
But just so you know, we have one student coming back, I think this week or I think at the end of the week.
January.
And then another one January.
From PCTI.
Yes,
Yes.
2 freshmen.
Two freshmen from the STEM building are coming back.
Maybe they can speak in an event.
Can I? Oh.
They will.
I know you've been trying to talk.
I do remember that.
Anthony, I know you have some.
So I just, two quick little things, and I know the answer to this, I'm just putting it out there and saying it out loud. We have discussed, and there is no option to keep our students in town and send them there just for vocational classes, like we did when we were in high school.
Not
They
We
will
anymore.
just
not
don't
do
offer
that.
that
It's
anymore.
They don't
They will
offer
not
that.
do
Brought up.
that.
They don't
It's
offer
been
that.
asked, it's been discussed,
Bergen
No
County
movement.
does do that.
yes.
Bergen County Academies does do that with the local high schools. One of the previous administrative staff members tried to work it out with PCTI several times when the previous superintendent was here, and it was not even a conversation of what was happening.
Okay, that was one. And two, it's been my own personal experience from talking to people that I think a lot of the students, and I think we're doing a great job at addressing this, a lot of students want to go there to get a fresh start. Middle school is hard. Some kids have been having trouble socially, maybe have been bullied. I think there's an emotional component about going somewhere. I don't think they're necessarily excited about the STEM lab, which some may be, and some may be the culinary, and some might definitely want to
That's
do
fine.
criminal justice, and that makes sense for them to go there. But I think that there are a percentage of students who are looking for something different, a fresh start, somewhere new to be where they have no baggage. And I think some of those you see coming back, because it's hard to start in a school with 3,000 students where there's no history, no support, no friends. But I do think that we're doing a great job of addressing emotional support to our students. And I think we should just continue to keep that at the forefront of our thought process. And when you address them in 5th grade and 6th grade and 7th grade, just to kind of let them know that there are options, and it doesn't necessarily need to go in that path if that's not the way they need it to be.
Let me throw, can I?
Go.
You sure?
Go.
Let me throw a reality out, which is reality today. As the superintendent and a BA begin to put together the budget, here's a question. How many are going to budget for it going? I'm not putting yet, I'm just saying it's a conversation
I
thing.
know, yeah.
Going to budget for 20 more? I don't know, 30 more? It's $500,000. That's the reality today.
And then what happens
It's
if you
here.
get more? And it's not budgeted in?
I'm just talking this year.
Right, correct.
Which is why Abby's suggestion of doing an exit interview and finding out why these
Maybe
kids
there's
are
a niche we
going.
have yet to try to create. I mean, I know when we created lacrosse, PCTI was in the background. A lot of the decisions we make, we do keep that in mind, but maybe there's something we're missing.
There's a lot of
But-
good points tonight.
Just what Tanya's saying, we can't, that's not something we can circumvent. We can't create a niche for that,
No.
so.
But two points that I just want to kind of piggyback on. Bruce brought it up, Abby agreed with it, starting earlier. Now, we're saying possibly 65 or have their applications out there. And it's only 2, but I've heard from 2 different parents that after they went to our 8th grade orientation at the high school, it opened their eyes a little bit more, and they're actually reconsidering, and they're going to leave it up to their student. But I think that kind of bodes well with the idea of starting earlier. Let's not wait until after they go there to have our night. Maybe do it a little bit earlier if we could, because a lot of people are maybe not aware of the changes that we've been making over the years, the things we've been adding. Right? So I think that's a really good point. And I want to go back to what Alex said about the numbers of people going to college through PCTI. And again, going back to the fact that it's no longer collaboration, it's more a competition. We have to think about the students. Forget about taxpayers paying twice. Let's think about the students that are not college-bound students. They have nothing. They have no opportunities. That was what going back to when I was in high school a long, long time ago. But that's what the idea was. Half day up there. The fact that they're not open-minded to even working with us on something like that, and the fact that they're driving home and, you know, all the college-bound students is really leaving students out there that have no real, you know, help. So we can't do it here, and then the school that's supposed to be the collaboration and helping is no longer there. And they're gonna tell you, well, our charter doesn't say that that's what we're all about. But we all know that that's what it was really designed to do a long time ago. But they changed it to benefit their pocketbooks.
We
From a
did,
revenue
And we're being
generator.
very respectful of our
in the past,
discussion tonight.
it makes us nice people, nicer than, this is a good thing, I think.
No, I mean, we're being respectful about our opinion of it.
I know in
Our choice of word.
To address what you said, the last thing, that there is probably a portion of people that don't have a place to go now at this point. In the past, we looked into Felician, we looked into the Roman school right here in town. We tried to build a relationship with them, so if anybody wanted cosmetology, I mean, I'm sure that's definitely something we can revisit, creating, because there are other trade-specific schools, like Lincoln Tech, and I know that we have something going, was it Lincoln Tech?
Yeah.
Okay, not, it's definitely something we can look elsewhere for. If we feel that that's something that we need to give our children, we can find other places to get those things if we need.
I think we have to open ourselves to all options right now, and really this exam day. I think the cost that it's going to have an effect on our district, we have to really examine everything.
I think like a lot of people said, and you said with all they call it pamphlets, and, you know, the whole thing. Obviously, you know, we're not gonna do that because it is illegal, but also to do that, but it's just to keep strategizing as many ways as you can, and as many different places as you can, not only to get out the word of the cost, but more, all the different things that we have here, and start at a lower age, so by the time kids decide in 6th or 7th grade, they know for 2 or 3 years, this is where I want to be. And I agree with Lou too, like the other districts, I know Clifton, they're up to $9 million of their budget. Now, how much more when this happens? They're going to go over $10 million to send kids from Clifton to PCTI. So I agree with you that, you know, working with the other towns, I mean,
How do you grow programs? How do you grow programs when you're losing revenue? You can't overtax the taxpayers. It's when you're not allowed to because of 2% cap. But even if you could, where do you draw the line? Where you know, it's just, I don't have the answers. I'm sorry, I just keep reiterating the same problem, but it's frustrating.
And it is a sensitive issue, right? I mean, like Lou said, politics comes into play, and it's not a personal attack, but it's more about finding an equitable solution and, you know, highlighting that trade student that, you know, is at a loss if they don't, you know, if we can't meet the needs here and we're not being met out there. So it's about both, right? The equitable, something more equitable and taking care of that trade student.
What Mr. Palouse said before, and to follow what you just said, the perception, double taxation, but the other perception is that if the average cost of our child, the educated child here at Hawthorne, is $14 million, the perception is, well, we just simply take that, I'm sorry, $14,000 per child, we just take that $14,000 and send it to PCTI, and it doesn't hurt our budget whatsoever. That's the misconception, I should say. They don't realize how the numbers work. That's where other people, that's how people need to be educated on. That just comes right out of our bank. They think because one child goes, okay, we got to spend $14,000 less. It's not true.
Because you still have the educators, you still have,
everything.
all your expenses are still the same. Now you have minus.
But that's the other perception, misconception out there.
Some people didn't even realize that it was tuition-based at all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I cleared that up in one little Facebook incident, and then it started to storm, and I got off of it, but people don't realize that we are responsible for a portion of tuition at all. They think it's just paid for by the state.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there is a lot of unknown out there.
And you would think that social media would be something that we could utilize to educate, but the minute you say something, you're going to be categorized as attacking that school. And again, it's not anything about the education, it's about the unfair advantage that they have over us in many different ways. And I think we should slowly get it out to the public, I would be willing to go to a council meeting and, continue to just see what we can do.
I didn't mean to go on a tangent.
It's all right. Obviously, you weren't the only one that felt this way.
We don't need to go to general comments and conductions and concerns now. Just continue
Well,
on.
I got other things to talk about. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on. For his last the committee liaison report,
Well,
for council liaison,
I did not attend the council meetings, I have no report.
it comes up empty. Thank you, Victor. All right, curriculum instruction and policy, Ms. Goff.
Hopefully a lot of these things will be helpful to our previous conversation. We met on the 11th, and the first order of business was to discuss 8th grade shadowing at the high school. For 2019, the plan will be to have all Lincoln Middle School students shadow. Obviously, this will be helpful for showing them what the high school has to offer from 6th grade up. I also mentioned that it might be something to look into advertising at St. Anthony's or any other local schools that may have students that would possibly be coming back into the high school. So Mr. Sprito is going to just check out that. Just to give that other leg of putting feelers out there, to show them that we have some good things going on. There's an update with our Care Plus clinician. We have a new clinician. Her name is Cheryl Finch, and she started right after Thanksgiving. We are looking into a new website and app, as Mr. Clavijo said. This would be a summer project. The January Professional Development Day, it sounds very exciting. I would like to attend it myself. It's called a Recharge Day. All the staff will be involved. That's everyone from custodians up through administrators. Victory Road is a motivational speaking company that will be coming in and speaking to everyone to kick off the event. And then they'll be doing team building activities, health and wellness activities, mindfulness. They'll pick one thing to do after the big speaker comes. Andy's Art Box is coming in to do painting. Jason Wood is coming in to do mindfulness. There's an Escape the Room coming in from town. Cooking activity. There's a doctor coming in from town to talk about diet and stress. Next was Tammy Kwan and Cognitive Toy Box. This is a new digital kindergarten assessment that we will be using starting this year. It's all done on iPads. It's a quick assessment. She's building uniquely for Hawthorne. It also does social, emotional, hearing, and vision that can all be added right onto the screen. All the information is stored digitally, and we're a go for this year. We discussed plans for the MD class at Jefferson. As the students track up, we need to continue to either phase that up into the middle school or see what we are going to do. Population has become very large at Jefferson and includes 2 different types of populations and looking into possibly an increase in staffing for that program. Also, the high school program of studies is being revamped under new leadership of the new high school principal and the new director of education. Personal finance will be moved out of freshman year. It'll be on a hiatus for 2 years, but don't worry, it will be back when it needs to be for everyone who needs to have it before graduation. Computational thinking is getting changed into a full-year course, renamed Computer Programming Applications and Design. Incoming freshmen will have pathways. They will be able to choose 1 out of 5 or 6 electives. Performance English is going down to a half year. Things like debate are being added. So again, this is another thing that once it is solidified, we can promote this and hopefully get the good news out. And then we ended with a conversation about AP courses and ways that we can continue to progress and make sure that everyone is doing the best of their ability there. And we'll continue to look at the information and trends as data comes in. And there was no policy meeting.
Thank you very much, Ms. Let's see, next up is HEF, CPAC, and PTOs, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. President. Both HEF and CPAC want to wish everybody a happy, safe holiday season. And I'll start with the CPAC organization had a give back night. They wanted to thank Hawthorne Diner and all the people that participated. They raised $250 on that event. And as a reminder, I'm going to be reminding everybody every meeting until May. But May 5th, put on your calendar, it's going to be the Color Run, 4th annual Color Run. Big, great event, and they usually raise a lot of money, so hopefully everybody can put that on their calendar. Again, May 5th, I know we have a ways to go, but it's going to be here before you know it. And their next meeting is going to be a workshop on January 23rd at the Lewis Bay Second Library. That will be 7 p.m. and it's the basics of IEP. Everyone's welcome. Children are welcome if they're accompanied by their parents or an adult. And moving on to F. Again, they wanted to wish everybody happy holidays. A reminder also, May 19th, again, we're way in advance, but May 19th is going to be the second annual food truck event festival. It was great last year, the first one. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit better. And they just finished their Krispy Kreme fundraiser, and they raised $2,500. That's a really successful night. They had a successful movie day as well, the day after Thanksgiving. And we're looking forward to moving into the new year. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Legislative, Ms. Sanford.
I will try to give you the Reader's Digest version of all of this stuff that's happening lately. Yesterday, Governor Murphy signed 4 bills designed to enhance school bus safety. A couple of ones that I'm going to bring up. Ensuring bus driver fitness will require a school bus driver renewing or an applicant seeking either a passenger endorsement or school bus endorsement for his or her commercial driver's license to submit a proof of physical fitness upon license renewal or initial application. In addition to that, the legislation would require additional and more frequent medical examinations for drivers once they reach the ages of 70. So annually, they'll have to do it once they reach the age of 70, and every 6 months when they reach the age of 75. And lastly, that bill requires all drivers of buses or any other vehicles used for student transportation to submit to a medical exam that includes ear and eye tests. In addition, removing suspended drivers from the road requires a Board of Ed or school bus contractor to provide the New Jersey Department of Education with a statement within 1 business day of receiving notification of the suspension, verifying that the school bus driver no longer operates a bus. Some of the other bills that were signed by the governor were electronic procurement. It authorizes local units of government, including boards of ed, to use electronic procurement technologies. The bill would authorize electronic procurement for the purchase of electric and gas services and for the sale of surplus and personal property. There were a handful of bills that were sent to the governor, and I wanted to mention one of them because Abby had mentioned the personal finance class. There's a financial literacy education bill that would require financial literacy instruction to pupils enrolled in grades 6 through 8. So this would include content on budgeting, savings, credit, debt, insurance, investment, and other issues associated with personal financial responsibility. That bill was sent to the governor, but they're just saying bring it down to grades 6 through 8 versus the high school. So I just want to throw that out there. Senate also approved the following measures. There's a STEM grant program. It would establish a 4-year New Jersey Early Innovation Inspiration School Grant Pilot Program in New Jersey to fund non-traditional STEM programs. The program would award grants to school districts that support non-traditional STEM teaching methods. Under the bill, the Commissioner of Education would award a total of 6 one-time grants up to $150,000 each. Priority would be given to urban and rural schools, low-performing schools, or school districts that serve low-income students. Also, mandatory eye exams directs the State Board of Education to require each child ages 6 and under who's entering a public preschool, public school, or Head Start program for the first time to have a comprehensive eye examination within the child's first year. And for children without health insurance or whose parents' plan do not include vision, the bill requires the Department of Health to maintain a list of organizations that provide free or reduced cost programs. Also, some of the other bills that we have discussed in the past were advanced, including school panic alarms and Class 3 officer revisions. The Class 3 officer revisions, some of the changes authorize a law enforcement officer who served in any law enforcement position eligible for participation in the system to be appointed as a Class 3 SLEO. It removes the requirement that the officer be retired from their law enforcement position within 3 years of appointment as a Class 3 special officer. It also establishes that the Class 3 SLEOs may not be assigned to an extracurricular or after-school function unless that assignment has been first made available to full-time members employed by the municipality, school, or college, and includes county vocational schools in the definition of a county college to clarify that Class 3 SLEOs are authorized to serve in county vocational schools. And that's just some highlights of some of the things that were passed this week or moved forward.
Thank you. Ms. Spear, let me just ask you a question. In regard regards to the financial literacy, didn't you just evaluate it internally in our school, and what did we come up with?
So the kids don't feel that freshman year is an appropriate time to be discussing any course in financial literacy. They will tell you that they would appreciate it much more at a higher level, not a freshman year. So that was one of the reasons behind the change that we made. The kids feel that as a freshman, you're not really thinking about things that you're thinking about as a junior, like buying a car, getting a job, thinking about college. That's where they feel.
They don't have much use for it.
Right.
And as a freshman.
So their feeling was,
Yeah,
make it junior year. So to bring it down to middle school is the complete opposite of what
Right.
the feedback you get from the kids.
Very interesting. And I would agree with the students.
Yeah.
It makes much more sense that way. Once again,
It's much more appropriate for the kids to
Our-
learn at a higher
Practical.
level. More
our state
practical, makes more
state
sense.
makes the best
It's
decisions.
real life for them at that point.
Exactly. And it makes more sense. It's more valuable.
The concept of financial literacy is asking your parents for $10.
But at that point though, can I just say, by the time they're seniors in high school, it might be too late. I mean, my kids have been working, not that it's too late, but they should probably have a concept of savings and budgeting and stuff before they go off to college. You know what I mean? Like, maybe-
Absolutely.
No, we're doing, that, our plan is
Junior
to
year?
include junior year.
Okay.
Junior year, not senior year, junior year.
Okay, thank you. The Passaic County School Boards, Mr. Turco? Thank you very much. Public be heard. No, public be heard. Please state your name and address.
Do you want to go first or second? I'm
And sign it.
Jody,
You have to sign it.
Jody Vesuvio. Actually, I'll do this while she's talking, so I don't make you guys
That's
wait.
okay.
That's
Great, no
okay.
problem.
I am the therapist that wrote that 2-page letter to you guys, and it was submitted last week, so I appreciate that you would take a look at that, and that you're going to talk about it and vote tonight. The reason that I wrote it is for this young lady, Gisela. She is a senior in your high school, and her family just had to relocate, and she's being faced with not being allowed to finish senior year. So I don't want to repeat what I wrote in the letter, because I'm sure you guys took your time to read the entire 2 pages. But I did want to tell you that I, in addition to being in private practice, I provide in-home therapy to kids through the state program that supports that. And they are kids that need more intense service than just 45 minutes to an hour in an office. And that's how I know Gisela. So kind of having that experience and being in so many different districts and communities throughout the county, it was extra important to me to come and kind of advocate on her behalf that she be allowed to graduate with her class in June, because I know what the Hawthorne School District is. I've lived in this town, I've had family and friends live in this town, my sister graduated from your high school. I know what Hawthorne School District is, I know what you guys offer, I know the community that you have here. You guys have given that to Gisela, and I don't want to see that taken away from her before her graduation. So thank you for letting us come down and for considering this.
Yeah, I would like to thank everybody for being here and allowing me to be here and talking to you guys face to face. And I just wanted to say, with my letter, it was pretty, unplanned, everything kind of happened so fast, but I would say Hawthorne is my home. I've never settled down in one school all my life. I've been transferring to different schools, and for once I've stood in a school more than 2 years and actually grew comfortable with people, as well as the teachers and the guidance counselors and therapy. I have a Care Plus there, new one, and that's really all I have to say.
Gisela?
Yeah, so
How long have you lived in Hawthorne?
probably like 4 years.
4 years. And have you attended the Hawthorne Public School District?
Well, freshman year since Hawthorne High School, yes.
Okay, so also the high school years. And your family relocated to what town?
In Jersey.
Okay.
They sold the house that we were living in, so we had like a month to find a place to live.
Right.
So that's where we found a place to live. Her father and I both have our license. Her father works in Dumont, so he would drop her off every day on the way to school. She'd be there by 7 o'clock like she is every day anyway, as well as myself. Also, she goes to school half a day, and she has a job that she does, and that's another thing that she would be losing.
And I have 2 jobs. I'm also on the SOE program in the school, and that's something big that's been helping me, because I am 19 years old, and I did get left back in freshman year. So I do have bills to pay and things, to come up with, and, these 2 jobs have been helping me financially, and if I lose them, I basically have to start all over, as well as school, and kind of need this.
What is your employer?
Encore International and 7-Eleven.
Okay. Is that local here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And not only that, like, her father and I have seen, like, unremarkable how more responsible she has become. She's been very responsible. She goes to work every day, goes to school every day. She's very good in school, very smart kid, very gifted, and we would just hate to have her, just because of something that, we had to do with the quick decision, we would hate to have her pay and have to go to another school where she doesn't know anybody, and, that happened to me. My parents moved me down to Tom's River, and I was lost. So I would hate to see the same thing happen to her, especially when, this is home to her.
Is this?
This is, I'm sorry, he just had neck surgery, so he's in a lot of pain right there, but we just wanted, to be here and.
It's honorable that you came to support your daughter. Just a question for you. Well, first of all, when you guys relocate, when did it actually happen?
When will that actually happen? Probably we'll be in by January 15th, I'm sorry.
So about a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just looking at your physical appearance, I don't know how you plan on driving. I'm just saying, it sounds like it might be a challenge for you.
He's allowed to drive after that. That's why we have to wait till, it was supposed to be the 1st, but we moved it to the 15th.
Okay.
So he should be able to drive in about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, so. I'm able to drive now, so I do marketing, so I basically can drop her off in the morning and go right into work. My hours are very flexible, so.
Any other board have questions?
Just if there was a possibility to accommodate her, so we're talking about 4 months, right?
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why did you choose to move the booth? There was plenty of apartments in Hawthorne.
Well, that's the thing, like, we needed 2 bedrooms, the rates, it was just something, like I said, we had a month. We sold the house, we told us we had to be out. It happened so fast, and that's basically what we
May I
found.
ask, did you buy property?
No, we rented.
You rented?
Yeah, we rented.
I'm a realtor. So.
How are you? Well, if I would have known, I would be right too.
Don't start your pitch.
The booth is less expensive than home room.
Actually, it was with the apartments that we looked at, it was. We found a beautiful place, 2 floors, 2 bedrooms, washer, dryer, like everything basically that we needed right in this place. And for the prices a lot, I mean, they wanted $1,800 to $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom in Hawthorne,
I'm gonna rent you one for $1,400.
But you know what, in a year,
Right,
this
no,
is
not
how
the
you
end
get
of
back
the year.
into town, right? That's how you get to come back in a
Exactly,
year.
I'm gonna take your card.
All right. We gotta get off that. Does anybody have any questions related to
I would just like to
Giselle?
say thank you for bringing this to our attention. Sometimes these things happen, we don't even know. Thank you for sending the letters, Mr. Sprito sent us them all, so thank you. Thank you for loving the high school as much as you do.
My biggest thing though is when Mr. LeBron left,
He was my favorite principal. I like Mr. Cunningham, but I don't have really a relationship with him. Small sister.
Very good. Anybody? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be discussing this later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I take him home?
Of course.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
everybody. Thank
Take care.
you. Do I have a card?
Anyone else?
Oh, sure.
All right, general comments and questions from the board related to the school district.
I would like to briefly say that Mr. Kreischer and I and Mr. Sprito attended the Google training on Monday at the library, and it was lovely. The presenter was just very dynamic and entertaining and really knew stuff. And so I'm excited that we are building a relationship with people like him. It was free. All of the resources that he showed us to how to use were all free. I brought them back to my district. So I thank Mr. Sprito and all of the rest of the staff for finding people like that, because it was a great program.
Yeah, I would just like to encourage Ms. Coffey. She showed us this Google Applied Digital Skills, which is a free curriculum that's online, and Google, along with other companies, identified number one skill you'll need in the future is problem solving. And all of these free resources were all about figuring out problem solving with Rich Kiker. Interesting website that he showed us just for the future too to look up. WillRobotTakeMyJob.com.
Robots.
Robots. He actually showed a site, WillRobotsTakeMyJob.com. You put in what your job is, and it will tell you in the future the percentage of robots that will take your job. Teacher was only 2%.
1%.
1%. One of the top ones was driver, be like a taxi driver, 97%. So kind of interesting, a lot of the future research.
What's the website?
WillRobotsTakeMyJob.com. And then you put in the profession, and then it tells you the numbers.
Interesting.
I have one other thing for, I don't know, I think this portion, general business, new business.
Yeah, general business, you can talk about anything.
Okay, thank you. The boys basketball team won tonight and beat Glen Rock 41-35.
Nice.
All right. Thank you very much.
That class, was it well attended? Do we have teachers?
There
from the
weren't as
district?
many people as we had hoped. Mrs. Tribona thinks, and I agree, that it probably was the timing. I mean, this is the week before the holidays and the break, and I know my own husband tried to attend, but their approval wasn't there. So he has to do 20 of these a quarter. So, and I think that we're looking at.
He's
working
coming
with
to
him.
Hawthorne in March on that half day we have. He's going to present to one teachers here.
Oh, good.
And then next year, he's going to work with us. We already have him booked for 3 dates next year. But he's going to basically, in essence, do what he did, the presentation that he did the other day for our staff.
So for that March PD day, it's still free?
No, it's not. This he did, he works for Google, so he has to run certain trainings throughout the year, certain numbers he has to achieve. So this was one of those free events that he offers. I'm sure he'll do others, because this is something he has to do all throughout the year. But anything going forward that he does for us, there's a fee associated with it.
Bruce, do you know, I'm always assuming you might have a connection to him, that you know where he does free events.
Yeah, I can find out.
I have all of his information.
That'd be
Twitter
great.
handle and.
It'd be nice.
I'll find out for you because he does, they call them, they have nothing to do with boot camp with the Army, but they call them boot camps to pass these certification tests. It could be $300 or $400 a day to go see him.
Wow.
Like some of his workshops are not cheap to go to. So I'll see if I could find, I could find out. Well, if he has to do that many, there's
20
only,
per quarter, he said.
yeah, and they will be around, there's only 8 of him in the country, like regional trainers. He's one of the 8. And I've seen him present many times before. He's very good presenter. He was a teacher, so he kind of brings it to the teacher level of how you can use it in the classroom. And I've heard him several times, and every time I hear him, I come away with, 3 or 4 new things I just didn't know, that he was showing. So, Rich Kiker is his name. He's a teacher in Pennsylvania. Started his own technology company, and then Google hired him to be one of these like regional trainers, which is like the highest level. There's all these different certifications that you can get. The regional trainer is the highest one above like everything else. So there's not that many of him. And like I said, he's spins in stories, but also how you could use it in the classroom. And he's just he's a good trainer. He's an easy listen. People enjoy him, whatever workshops he's doing.
I'm going to share my Google Notes with you, and it has all his contact information.
Speaking of district offerings, I just want to commend the district for that recharge PD day, half a day. It sounds fantastic. I think that communicates to the staff that, you do care about their well-being and that they're valued, that it's kind of things that you read, like the Googles of the world doing, it's fantastic. I had the same, thought that you did. I was like, I want to be part of it, so that's fantastic.
Toughest course, selecting which course I want to do, which class I want to attend.
I know, paint, cook.
The cooking was the toughest part. Also, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I want to thank our Business Administrator, Ms. Angle, for the financial shape that the district is in. It's those of us that have been here for a little bit know what it feels like to be in a challenging situation. So we're very grateful for your diligent work. And last but not least, want to wish Victor a happy retirement. My kids, just like Mrs. Beretta said, have benefited from the school district, and my kids from the day that we moved into Hawthorne. So thank you for all the time you put into it.
I'm not leaving town, so.
Apparently you're going to be doing real estate. Anybody over here?
I'd just like to say I had the pleasure of attending the Treps Market last Tuesday. It was overwhelmingly attended. Attendance was amazing. Students looked like they had a fantastic time. Some really nice ideas and projects that they put out. Many of them did very well. Matter of fact, depending when you got there, a lot of the kids had signs up that said sold out. So they sold all of their products, which is great. I also want to congratulate Victor, and I express the same sentiments that have already been passed around the room. For me personally, my 4 years here on the board, I've worked alongside you, mainly with the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and I can honestly say it's been a pleasure, and that your knowledge certainly has worn off on me a little bit. Your ability to get your point across and argue when necessary is also appreciated.
It's bothered me.
Of course. Those are good traits that you had, and I think we've all benefited from them. So good luck to you and your future endeavors and your happiness now.
If I may, it's gratifying that the district is better now than it was 15 years ago. I, for one, am a better board member now than I was 15 years ago.
I'll drink it.
We grow into it, you learn, so it's definitely a plus. There's a big bunch of guys here, ladies, you put the time in because you care for it. That's the bottom line. The reward is that the district is better graduated rate, all the way around. So I really, I cannot stop saying no, really. I think that I'm a better board member now than when I came in. You grow to be mature in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine bottle of wine you are. Fine bottle of wine.
Anybody else here?
Yeah, of course,
You spent the most time with him?
our backgrounds and Italian heritage over the years played well in our relationship.
Yes.
Through positives and negatives, through tough times and good times.
Totally.
And you've made us all better board members over the years. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.
At the risk of repeating everybody else, just, quickly, everything that was said tonight, from the Traps Marketplace, which I thought was amazing as always. I was really impressed with it last year, really excited about it last year, super excited about it this year. Can't wait for next year because my kid will be in 5th grade, so looking forward to that too. I do love that the kids, and I wanted to bring it up in case you didn't know, a lot of the children took some of their profits or all of their profits and donated them to a charity, which I think is amazing and a great lesson for a child at 10 years old to know that there's a need out there and that they can make a difference in the world. So I thought that was awesome. We have butted heads sometimes, but honestly, it has been great working with you, and I wish you nothing but the best. I know that when you speak from the heart and with conviction, so
Thank you.
we respect that, and we will miss you around here.
My granddaughter is in Roosevelt. My grandson will be going most likely to Washington before he's down the road, so we're still gonna roots at that.
No one's kicking you out of Hawthorne, don't worry.
Can't kick him out.
He owns half the town.
And wait, before I
That's the wrong assumption that people have. See, nobody ever realized that I'd be happy to give you one mortgages. Yeah, because he was ahead at the end of the day.
As long as you give me the profits with it, I consider it.
Before I move on, before to Anthony, Trudy, I also want to reiterate that we are so lucky to have you, and thank you so much for everything you do for us.
Whatever I did was from here, that's for sure. And I'm not disappearing, so you're going to see me once in a while.
We'll see you around a lot, Vic. Thanks for your service. I'm sure I'm going to see you a lot more than most people will. So thank you for your service. Again, thank Trudy. Thank everybody on the board. I hope everybody has a happy holiday and a safe new year. And it's a pleasure to serve with everybody. Have a good night.
Well, I want to wish you guys already had your holidays. Good, both of you, so happy best holidays. Those 8 days long, very good holidays. To you, I want to wish you Merry Christmas to all of you, and Happy and Healthy New Year to all of you and your families. So, yeah, I'm going to miss all of you. It's been a long time here. So definitely the district's much better off today than it was 15 years ago. There's no question about it. So I was a big part of it. So
Big deal. Things I wrote down and I want to talk about, it's really, a lot of it's been mentioned, but I also want to extend a thank you to Trudy for us having another clean audit. District's in the best shape we've been since my time. You make our lives a lot easier to be on the board knowing that you're doing what you do. And thank you, Mrs. Frito, for the support you did. Just some other things, I also attended the TREPS event. It was absolutely fantastic. These young students are enthusiastic. I engaged with them and I was asking, well, how'd you come up with your idea? And they were able to verbalize it, and from the beginning, what your idea was to actually product to now selling, pitching me, and you couldn't leave the table without buying something. I stopped going to tables because I was running out of money, it was one of those. So it was a really great event, and another great event the second year for the TRAPS program. I also attended the fall production of Christmas Carol. I will absolutely tell you, I've gone to a lot of community theater. A few years know that my wife has done a lot of community theater in her past, and my daughter now is taking that on too. Although she didn't go to the fall production, she likes the musicals. So I've seen a lot of productions, and it was excellent. These students did a phenomenal job. I was so impressed,
Is that available on the website? Or can we not do that because of copyright?
So many of those seniors have done every show.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the kids that were in it, and you could tell,
it was good.
They're very comfortable on stage.
There was no weak parts. Usually when you go to they're trying their hardest. You applaud them. They're up there. These kids were dynamite. They were really dynamite. So that was good to see. Also, I like to wish everybody happy holidays. With Hanukkah that's just passed, and now with Christmas and New Year's, we're not going to see anybody now till reorg, I believe, January 2nd.
Yes, sir.
And so we look forward to the new board, out with the old and in with the new.
You said right there, it's going to be said here, and you said great replacements.
There we go. And last but not least, once again, Victor, I want to say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And also, you know, as a personally, I consider you a mentor. You know, again, like I said earlier, we did kind of bang heads a little bit, but we worked it all out, and I think we're both of us much better for it. So I do appreciate it, and good luck to you in the future, and don't ever stop plugging away. You're doing a great job.
You know, I do want to say something about Rick and Trudy. You know, the guys are tremendous duo. Okay? I think that one of the best decisions, some of you were here when you hired them, you know, some of you I know, but it was a tremendous achievement for the board to hire both of you. You know, it was a package deal. You know, I come out to you, I don't know how many times in the past 3 or 4 years. You know, your personality, your knowledge, you know, a nice person, you know what I mean? Because Trudy's got different personality. She's temper-oriented. Anyway, I want to thank you, both of you, really. You know, we came a long way, you know, with discrepancies and personalities, if you will, but all that's behind us. You know, so I want to thank both of you for having having stabilized this district.
Thank you.
You know, you're bringing a lot to the table, and I'm very so proud of that. We like both of you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on. New business. Old business? All right, private session. Be resolved that the Hawthorne Board of Education convenes an executive session to discuss exempt matters pertaining to personnel and HIB. Be further resolved that it is anticipated that executive session will be for 45 minutes in duration and that the public action may or may not be taken. Be further resolved that the minutes of the executive session will be made available upon a determination by the board that the disclosure of the minutes will not be detrimental affect any right or interest of the board, and the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I will entertain a motion.
Motion. Second.
Everybody. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Traglia?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavino?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Palooz?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.